Well, welcome back. If you're listening to this in the same commute, the same parking lot, the same pump room as episode 1, I see you. I get it. I'm also someone who has a long commute and I like to listen to things on my way. You are showing up for yourself in the margins of your day, and that is not insignificant. That's actually really important to tell us how you're going to do on this journey. It is everything that you show up for yourself. Today, I want to talk about something that doesn't get said enough. A lot of you have been back at work for a while, not 2 weeks, not a month, months, maybe a year, maybe longer. And when you first went back, you told yourself it's just an adjustment. It'll get easier, give it time. And you gave it time, and it is still this hard. And now there's a new layer on top of everything else, because now you're not just exhausted and guilty and split in half. Now you're also quietly wondering, what's wrong with me? Why am I the one that's still struggling? Why haven't I figured this out yet? I want to answer that today directly and completely. Nothing is wrong with you, but something is missing. And once I name it, I think a lot of things are going to click into place. Here's what nobody told you about going back to work after having a baby. It is not an adjustment. It is a transition. And those two words sound similar, but they're not the same thing. An adjustment is when something changes and you adapt. So things like a new job, moving to a new city, getting a new routine in place. You figure out the logistics, you get used to it, and then you move on. Adjustments are uncomfortable, but they're temporary. And so your nervous system recalibrates and you're back to baseline. On the other hand, a transition is something different. A transition is when who you are changes, not just what you do, but who you are. Becoming a mother is the most significant identity transition a human being can go through. Research actually have a word for it now. It's called matrescence. It's the process of becoming a mother. And just like adolescence, which is the last time your identity shifted this dramatically, matrescence is not a moment. It's not a day. It's not even a month. It is a years-long process of becoming someone new. And here's the problem. You went back to work in the middle of it. You walked back into a role that was built for the version of you that existed before. Your job didn't change. Your colleagues didn't change. The expectations didn't change. But you changed fundamentally at the level of your identity. And nobody acknowledged that. Nobody made room for it. You were just supposed to show back up and be who you were. But you're not who you were. You are someone new. And you're still figuring out who that is. That's why it hasn't gotten better. Not because you're failing, but because you're in the middle of becoming. And becoming is hard, especially when the world around you keeps acting like nothing happened. There's something else that I want to name. A lot of the women I talk to describe their life right now as juggling 3 balls in the air, their child, their career, and everything else. And they say that one ball is always falling, and it's almost always the same one, the third ball, themselves, their health, their sleep, their friendships, their marriage, the things they used to do that made them feel like a person and not just a function. And here's what I want to say about that. You cannot keep this up indefinitely. I don't say that to scare you. I don't say it to intimidate you. I say it because I think part of you already knows it and you need someone to say it out loud so you don't feel crazy for feeling it. The third ball is not optional. You are not optional. And right now, the way you're running your life is treating yourself like a luxury that you can't afford instead of the foundation everything else is built on. When you are depleted, truly depleted, the kind where your mind never stops even when your body is still, you don't have less to give. You have nothing to give. And then you're handing your child and your job the scraps of a person who needed rest 3 months ago. That is not sustainable. And deep down, you know that's true. I also want to talk about identity for a minute because this piece is underneath everything. Before you had a baby, you knew who you were. You had a career that told you something about yourself. You were good at something. You were recognized for it. You had worked incredibly hard. Some of you since you were teenagers, some of you through graduate school, through residency, through years of building something. And that work was part of how you understood yourself. And then you became a mother and you loved it. And it also shook something loose because now there are two versions of you fighting for the same body and the same hours. The woman who is exceptional at her work and the mother who wants to be present for every moment. And neither one of them feels fully satisfied. And both of them feel guilty for wanting what the other one has. Some of you have described it as being stuck between two lives. And that's exactly what it is. And I want you to hear this. Being stuck between two lives is not a personal failure. It is the completely natural result of a transition that nobody guided you through. You were handed two full identities and told to merge them by Monday morning. And you did it. You showed up, you kept going, but you did it without a map. And that's what's been missing. Not willpower, not discipline, not a better morning routine or a color-coded calendar, a map. Here's what I know after years of working with women in exactly your position. The guilt doesn't go away on its own. Not with time, not with a promotion, not when your baby gets older and starts sleeping through the night, not when daycare gets easier, not when the logistics smooth out. The guilt goes away when you do the internal work of integrating who you are now, both parts, the professional and the mother, not choosing between them, not performing one while secretly grieving the other, actually integrating them into a version of yourself that is whole. And that is work, real work. But it is also the most important work you will do because everything else, your career, your relationship, your ability to actually be present with your child when you are home depends on it. The women I have watched do this work, the ones who stop white knuckling through their days and start actually living inside their lives, they don't become different people. They become more themselves, clearer, calmer, not because their circumstances changed, because they did. And that is what episode 3 is about. I'm going to walk you through the shift, the actual concrete, here's what to do with this shift. I'm going to introduce you to the CALM method, the framework I developed from my own experience returning to work and from years of clinical training. And I'm going to show you exactly what it looks like to stop surviving your life and start living it. You've already done the hardest part of this series. You listened, you stayed, you let some of this land, and that tells me that you're ready. So I'll see you in episode 3.